This case keeps on getting weirder and darker. So David, the singer who had a 15-year-old girl found dead in his car, supposedly was bringing caskets to his recent concert. Take a look at this video. This girl looks like she was filming it on July 30th. You can clearly see caskets, and I guess the idea of this was for people to write notes to the dead. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, just watch my recent videos on this and it'll catch you up. But also, the girl who died, her name was Celeste Hernandez, and her birthday was on September 7th. If you look at the date, Romantic Homicide, one of his songs that talks about literally killing someone, it was released on September 7th, 3 years ago, and this is straight from YouTube. Now, if we go to his TikTok, his last post was on September 7th, and it talked about him releasing a new album, and these look like text messages, the photos he posted, maybe, but there's also 15 of them, and she turned 15 on September 7th. Speaking of his TikTok, a lot of his reposts are pretty scary. I mean, it's just toxic relationship stuff. They're memes, but now they carry a different meaning. If you're wondering how old David is, he is 20 and the girl is 15. And in this chat, you can see some Epstein jokes being made, and then she says this.
He trained you. That's controversial.
It's controversial of kids.
Really good.
Okay,
it's been a good one.
Clearly the age difference not good, and he didn't care because in one of his songs he says, "I don't care about the law when I'm with you because I be brave."
Grainy footage from David's September concert just blew the doors wide open. And what the FBI revealed about it is straight up chilling. A shadowy figure caught on camera, looking eerily like Celeste Rivas, has sent shockwaves across social media. But the new information about this sighting doesn't just raise eyebrows, it flips the whole timeline upside down. The FBI dropped a bombshell, confirming one of the darkest twists in the David case yet. Newly enhanced video from his September 6th show in Silver Spring, Maryland, appears to show Celeste herself in the crowd standing near the balcony. The resemblance is so uncanny, it's impossible to ignore. Her face, her hair, even her outfit looked exactly like the missing girl's. If the FBI is right, then this changes everything. This would mean Celeste was still alive just days before investigators found David's abandoned Tesla in the Hollywood Hills, with her remains inside the trunk. What was once brushed off as just another piece of blurry fan-shot video may now be the smoking gun that unravels one of the most disturbing celebrity crime sagas in years. And the details only get darker. In the footage, the girl is seen rocking a black tube top, the same kind of clothing Celeste was wearing when her body was later discovered. According to the official reports, this isn't some random coincidence that can be brushed aside. It's a haunting connection that's making even skeptics stop and reconsider what really went down. But here's where it gets even more disturbing. Eagle-eyed viewers spotted something that made the footage nearly impossible to dismiss. At one point, David himself looks directly toward the balcony, right where the girl is standing, and throws up half of a heart with his hand. The gesture wasn't just random stage energy, it looked personal, intimate, like he was acknowledging her specifically. That single moment sent chills through anyone watching. Was David signaling to Celeste? Was she really there in plain sight while the world thought she had already vanished? This haunting clip has people questioning not just the timeline, but who truly knew what and when. What made this footage even more unsettling wasn't just the resemblance. It was the way David seemed to acknowledge the girl. His gesture, almost romantic in tone, now takes on a disturbing meaning when viewed in the shadow of what would later unfold. But here's the kicker. Standing right next to the mystery girl was none other than David's own brother. That detail sent the internet spiraling into even darker theories. If this really was Celeste, then this wasn't some secret in the shadows. David's family may have known about her presence and possibly even helped hide it. Suddenly, the questions turned sharper. Just how many people in David's inner circle were aware of his alleged relationship, and how deep did this cover-up go? The timing of this sighting couldn't be more important. The concert happened just 12 days before David's Tesla was found abandoned in the Hollywood Hills, near his home. Inside that trunk, authorities made the horrific discovery: Celeste's remains, wrapped in plastic and severely decomposed. Investigators initially believed she had been gone for weeks, maybe even months, before being found. But if the footage is legit, that entire assumption crumbles apart. Now, the decomposition timeline became the heart of the debate. Could a body really reach such an advanced state in only 12 days? Forensic experts pointed out that Los Angeles heat, a sealed trunk, and plastic wrapping could speed up the process drastically. That chilling possibility meant one thing. If Celeste truly was alive at the concert, her death happened within a shockingly narrow window of time, one that would put David squarely in the spotlight as possibly one of the last people to see her alive. Online detectives wasted no time tearing into every single frame of the clip. They zoomed in on her face, her body language, the way she carried herself, even her calmness in the packed crowd. None of it felt random. To many, it looked like someone who wasn't just another fan, but someone comfortable in that world. Someone who might have had a very personal connection with the performer himself. But as the clip kept spreading, cracks started to show. Viewers began pointing out details that didn't quite line up. Some claimed the girl in the footage looked older than Celeste would have been at the time. Others argued her height and build didn't perfectly match the missing person reports. Suddenly, what once felt like undeniable proof became a heated debate. Still, the resemblance was strong enough to keep speculation alive, and the possible implications were explosive. If the girl in the balcony really was Celeste, that would mean she was alive, moving around freely, and still connected to David only days before her body was found inside his Tesla. That tiny window of time could completely flip the investigation on its head. It would no longer just be a missing persons case clouded in mystery. It would instantly shift into a direct murder probe, with David pushed front and center as the prime suspect. The footage also raised fresh questions about the dynamic between David and Celeste. If she was truly there, being acknowledged by him in public, that would mean their connection wasn't hidden in the shadows as many believed. Instead, it looked like a bold and very public display. And that shocked people even more. Was David really flaunting this in plain sight? Or was there something about their connection that the public hadn't fully grasped? Either way, the possibility rattled investigators and fans alike.
You see yourself in the next 5 years?
Okay, so the plan is hopefully this music thing takes off crazy next year.
Why is he saying? Why are you saying that like you're not like up there, gang?
Well, I'm not there yet, but hopefully
okay.
it's like even crazier next year. And then I'm going crazy year after year for the next 3 years, and then on the 4th year I retire. And on the 5th year I'm off the grid, living somewhere like on an island with this crazy crib. No social media, no digital footprint. I'm just gone. I'm just gone. In 5 years, I'm gonna be gone.
Will you still remember me?
Yeah, bro. You'll have like the secret codes to the mansion.
Yeah?
You can pull up on every
What's the secret code? Give us the first 2 numbers.
Absolutely not.
The footage made it look less like a secretive hidden affair and more like something David was comfortable displaying, right in front of an entire audience. Meanwhile, social media went into absolute overdrive. Amateur sleuths lined up side-by-side photos, slowed down frames, and ran the clip through video enhancers to squeeze out every detail they could. The obsession was real, and emotions ran high. For many, this felt like the last glimpse of a young girl whose story had ended in tragedy, and that gave the footage a weight that couldn't be ignored. But here's the twist nobody saw coming. All that hype, all the theories, all the emotional investment poured into the concert footage. It was all based on a misidentification that the FBI would soon shut down with one brutal bombshell. Just when the true crime world thought they had their smoking gun, federal investigators stepped in and shattered the entire narrative in one move. And this didn't come from whispers on social media or a half-baked local report. No, this came from the federal investigation itself. That alone gave it a level of authority that couldn't be brushed aside. Suddenly, the proof everyone thought they had unraveled overnight. The moment was solidified when TMZ, the very outlet that helped fuel the concert theory in the first place, updated their reporting. This time, they dropped a direct statement from a source tied to the case. The girl in the footage was not Celeste Rivas. Not maybe, not possibly. A flat-out, no room for doubt denial. This wasn't speculation anymore. It was confirmation from people who clearly had access to the inside of the investigation. It's believed the feds picked apart every frame of that concert clip, likely using advanced facial recognition, expert analysis, and every tool at their disposal. With such a high-profile case under the national spotlight, they couldn't afford mistakes. And when they ruled it out, that was the end of the theory. But here's the part that made jaws drop even harder. If the girl wasn't Celeste, Then who was she? Because the footage still showed David pointing at her, throwing a heart gesture, and seemingly acknowledging her in a way that didn't feel random. Which means one thing, David was openly giving attention to a Celeste lookalike at a time when the real Celeste was likely already gone. That revelation is chilling, almost more disturbing than if it had been her. It raised terrifying questions about his mindset, his psychology, and whether this was a twisted way of mocking both the public and the investigators. And the timeline only makes it darker. Remember, Celeste had been missing since April 2024, disappearing from Lake Elsinore, California, when she was just 13 years old. By the time David hit the stage in August 2025, she had already been gone for over a year. So why, in the middle of a high-energy concert, would he spotlight someone who looked nearly identical to her? That behavior takes on a sinister edge. Was David deliberately trying to confuse investigators? Was he taunting the audience with a cruel reminder? Or was he building an illusion to muddy the waters around his own role in her disappearance? Whatever the reason, the psychology behind this move is disturbing, and it leaves a chilling stain on the case that no denial can wash away. But was this more than just a look-alike? Could it have been proof of a deeper psychological compulsion? Some investigators believe David may have been drawn to girls who resembled Celeste, echoing his alleged victim in disturbing ways, and that theory wasn't pulled out of thin air. Evidence had already linked the two, including claims of matching tattoos on their right index fingers and allegations from Celeste's own mother, who reportedly confirmed that her daughter had been seeing someone named David around the time she vanished. All of this already painted a chilling picture of an inappropriate relationship between a 20-year-old musician and a much younger girl. But the concert footage controversy, even though debunked, added a twisted psychological layer that can't be ignored. Why would David spotlight someone who looks so much like Celeste, if not to feed some dark obsession? The fact that federal authorities themselves stepped in to shut this theory down made the stakes even higher. The FBI doesn't jump into just any case. They get involved when there's potential for federal crimes like kidnapping, trafficking, or murder for hire. And with David touring across multiple states, if investigators find he transported Celeste illegally during that time, it could open the door to devastating federal charges. What made the FBI's statement so powerful was its certainty. This wasn't speculation. It suggested they already had hard evidence placing Celeste elsewhere during that timeline. Whether that came from digital tracking, witness testimony, or forensic data, it showed that investigators are working with information the public hasn't seen yet. Their confidence made it clear. They're holding cards close to their chest, but they're holding something big. Meanwhile, the debunking of the concert sighting exposed another ugly truth: the danger of social media speculation. Thousands of people online became convinced they were staring at Celeste in that grainy video, analyzing frame by frame, creating side-by-side comparisons, and spreading theories like wildfire. Yet professional investigators, armed with enhanced technology and expert analysis, ruled it out completely. The contrast showed just how easy it is for crowdsourced investigations to spiral into misinformation, even when people mean well. For David's defense team, this revelation could cut both ways. On one hand, it wipes out a piece of evidence that might have tied him to Celeste in the final days of her life. But on the other hand, it fuels even darker suspicions. If prosecutors can prove David surrounded himself with Celeste lookalikes while she was missing, it paints a chilling picture of obsession and possibly guilt. By the time all of this unfolded, David's world had already started collapsing. Canceled tour dates, lost brand deals, and fans turning against him. The fallout was massive. Now, with the concert footage debunked, his legal team suddenly had a new card to play. They could argue that months of viral speculation and misinformation had poisoned public opinion so badly that David couldn't possibly get a fair trial. But the FBI's cool, methodical approach cut straight through the noise. Their definitive ruling on the concert footage showed they weren't playing into online theories or public pressure. They were building their case on hard evidence. That kind of discipline could be a double-edged sword. On one hand, it reassures the public that justice will be based on facts, not hysteria. On the other, it means that if David really is guilty, there's nowhere for him to hide. And while all this legal maneuvering dominated headlines, the emotional toll on Celeste's family was heartbreaking. For months, they'd lived in unbearable uncertainty, desperate for answers about their daughter's final days. When the concert footage appeared, it gave them a flicker of hope, a chance to believe Celeste had been seen alive, a lead that might finally piece the puzzle together. But the FBI's debunking snuffed that hope out, leaving them back at square one, still searching for clarity and truth. Yet the debunking also forced everyone to confront a far darker reality. While the true crime world obsessed over whether Celeste was alive in August 2025, a much more sinister pattern had been forming in plain sight. Federal investigators revealed that David had allegedly surrounded himself with multiple Celeste lookalikes, while the real Celeste was likely already gone. This wasn't just creepy. It opened a Pandora's box of psychological profiling that painted an even more disturbing picture of David's behavior. And the bigger investigation made that picture even clearer. Authorities had uncovered a troubling timeline of alleged grooming and inappropriate contact that stretched far beyond the concert footage. Evidence suggested David and Celeste had been in contact since as early as 2022, when she was still a preteen and he was a late teen rising in the music scene. This wasn't some sudden scandal. It looked like a calculated long-term pattern that grew darker over time. Investigators also found traces of deliberate concealment and digital cleanup, signs that whoever was involved knew their actions were inappropriate and potentially criminal. Taken together, these revelations transformed the case from a tragic mystery into something far more chilling, a years-long web of control, secrecy, and obsession that may have ended with Celeste's death. The discovery of deleted streams and wiped digital records painted a terrifying picture. This wasn't some reckless mistake. It looked like calculated premeditation. Investigators said the cleanup showed clear consciousness of guilt, the kind of methodical erasing that goes far beyond a messy relationship. And what makes the whole look-alike revelation even more chilling? It fits perfectly into a behavioral pattern criminal psychologists often see in predators. Surrounding yourself with substitutes or stand-ins for a victim, especially when that victim is no longer around, isn't random. It points to psychological compulsions that are dark, obsessive, and dangerous. And this wasn't just theory. Friends close to David later admitted they thought Celeste was his girlfriend. But here's the twist. They believe she was 19. In reality, she was much younger during their alleged relationship, and those fake IDs reportedly played a huge role in convincing everyone she was older. That revelation was explosive. Fake IDs don't just fall out of the sky. Getting them requires planning, resources, and connections, which means this wasn't some spontaneous fling. It looked like an orchestrated grooming operation, carefully planned to disguise Celeste's real age and fool anyone who might question it. Convincing his own circle that she was an adult only added to the sinister level of deception. But it gets even darker. Federal investigators also uncovered disturbing claims that Celeste had confided to friends about being assaulted by David, and by someone she referred to as Gus. That name wasn't random either. Gus was allegedly tied to David's circle, but in 2024, while Celeste was still missing, Gus turned up dead, shot in mysterious circumstances. His death opened a whole new chapter of suspicion. Was Gus silenced before he could talk? Was he part of a wider pattern of abuse and exploitation that reached beyond David himself? The timing couldn't be ignored. Gus's death came right in the middle of Celeste's disappearance, but before her body was discovered. That overlap raised huge questions. Had other people been involved only to be eliminated when the walls started closing in? And while all this was happening, David wasn't exactly hiding in the shadows. Far from it. He was on stage, touring, performing, and allegedly surrounding himself with women who eerily resembled Celeste. To psychologists, that behavior screamed either a total lack of empathy or a compulsive need to surround himself with constant reminders of her. Either way, it was chilling. Federal authorities didn't stop there. They secured search warrants for David's Hollywood Hills mansion, reportedly targeting blood evidence and other forensic clues. The fact that investigators went that far meant they had probable cause, enough to believe serious crimes took place at that property. And according to reports, they didn't walk out empty-handed. Electronic devices and physical evidence were seized, potentially holding answers to what really happened to Celeste. The evidence pulled from David's Hollywood Hills property has not yet been fully revealed, but investigators hinted that security footage from the mansion could prove critical. Those cameras may hold the missing pieces to the timeline, showing exactly who came and went while Celeste was missing. If that footage exists, it could blow this case wide open. But it's not just the property searches raising eyebrows. It's David's own music. Fans are now listening to his lyrics with chilling new ears. Songs that once sounded like brooding heartbreak are being reinterpreted as confessions. His breakout hit Romantic Homicide, with its dark undertones of possession and violence, takes on an eerie double meaning when matched against the allegations. And here's the part that sent speculation spiraling. David uploaded Romantic Homicide on Celeste's birthday. Coincidence? Or something far more sinister? The debunking of the concert footage also put a spotlight on how digital platforms played a double-edged role in this tragedy. These were the same tools that allegedly allowed David to groom Celeste, yet they also fueled a wildfire of misinformation, with thousands convinced the grainy footage was the smoking gun. What started as fan obsession morphed into an online frenzy that nearly derailed the narrative of the case. But for David, the storm is far bigger than online theories. His career has been collapsing in real time. Tours canceled, brands cutting ties, and even his record label freezing promotion. When the very companies who profit from you decide to back away, it sends a powerful message. The allegations aren't just rumors. They're credible enough to destroy everything. And yet, for Celeste's family, the concert debunking was devastating in a different way. The footage had given them hope, a fragile belief that maybe their daughter had been seen alive in her final days. But that hope was crushed, leaving them once again in painful limbo, waiting for real answers about what happened to her. This case isn't just about one missing girl. It's a brutal reminder of how vulnerable young people can be in the digital age and how fame and influence can be weaponized by predators. The deeper investigators dig, the more this case looks like part of a broader web of exploitation, one that may have stretched far beyond Celeste alone, with federal authorities uncovering patterns of grooming, cover-ups, and possible accomplices. The scope of this investigation could be much larger than anyone first imagined. And that's the most terrifying part. The concert lookalike footage, instead of solving the mystery, has only opened darker questions. What was really going on in David's world? How far did the deception reach? And what kind of psychological compulsion could drive a rising star to allegedly commit acts this disturbing while smiling on stage in front of millions? One thing is clear: the full truth hasn't surfaced yet. And when it does, it may shake the music industry, the true crime community, and the public to their core. Thank you for watching StarBuzz Daily. If you found this breakdown eye-opening, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video with your friends. Drop your thoughts in the comments. We want to hear your take on this case, and we'll see you in the next one.